Storm Watch, sponsored by Walmart, and we are looking at both the tropics and the United States on this edition of Storm Watch. And fortunately, for the most part, things pretty quiet in both locations, and that is some excellent news. As we start our tropical update, of course, we know how busy it has been over the last few weeks with Hurricane Bonnie, Hurricane Danielle, Hurricane Earl, Tropical Storm Charlie. Well, we actually can still see what's left of what was once Danielle and Earl heading their way across the Atlantic Ocean. There goes Danielle, and there goes Earl. In fact, what's now the storm that Danielle metamorphosized into is actually approaching Europe now. However, we're not concerned so much with what is way out in the Atlantic for us here at home. We're more concerned with what's heading towards us. Not too much, fortunately. We do have a tropical wave pushing its way into the western Caribbean, and we have some disturbed weather in the southern Gulf of Mexico, but so far we've not seen a lot of development out of these, and that is certainly some good news. We'd like to keep things quiet. Let's bring it on a little closer here into the upper level winds. We started off. We can see that we still have winds out of the east at upper levels across the tropical Atlantic. We do have a little bit of an upper level ridge here in the area of the western Caribbean and the southern Gulf of Mexico. And so if something should start forming at the surface, the conditions aren't altogether unfavorable from the storm's perspective for further development. But we'd have to first see that development at the surface. And so far, things have been pretty disorganized. We have one cluster of storms, though, moving off the Yucatan Peninsula into the southern Gulf of Mexico. Pressures, we're still watching to see if pressures begin to fall. If we start seeing general pressure falls in the area, then we have to start looking for a low pressure center to develop and a circulation to start. So far, we have not seen that happen either in the Gulf of Mexico or into the western Caribbean. We're still seeing some shear. Notice the tops of the clouds blowing off to the south here. That's the upper level ridge blowing, the upper level winds blowing the cloud tops off, and shearing doesn't really help a storm develop. So as long as the shearing is going on, it is less likely we're going to see development in this area. However, if this area moves under the heart of the ridge, perhaps a better chance of development, a higher chance of development. So again, there is a lot of unsettled weather here. It is possible we could see something develop in the next few days. So please do stay tuned to the Weather Channel. We'll let you know if anything should develop. Now, let us move a little farther eastward. Here's the Leeward and Windward Islands, Puerto Rico. Say hello to another disturbance that is slowly moving its way eastward, or rather westward, but really not a lot of organization. You can see not a lot of convection with it at all, so not too much to worry about at the present time. Right here, though, a little out in the middle of the Atlantic, notice this. See how the clouds turn to the right? Okay, we have a circulation out there. That is actually an anticyclonic circulation with the clouds turning to the right here. But as we look a little farther out here, we do have some unsettled weather moving south of the Cape Verde Islands. We'll have to keep an eye on this for you and see if anything should come of this. But right now, things pretty quiet, and no tropical development is expected in the next 24 hours. So that is certainly some excellent news. And considering that this is the peak of the hurricane season, that is most definitely wonderful news. Let's head across the ocean now and across Central America into the coast, off the coast of Mexico in the eastern Pacific. A general area of showers and thunderstorms, but you notice that really no area is gathered together and clustered and staying consistently fired up over extended periods. So until that happens, we're not expecting any development in this area, and that is, again, on the good news side. Let's leave the tropics now, come home to the United States, where things, by and large, pretty quiet. You can see not much in the way of precipitation east of the Rockies, a few showers off the coast of Texas and off the coast of Florida. However, notice this spin here, upper level low, moving its way northward. Along its periphery, some showers and thunderstorms could produce some heavier downpours in some cases. Let's look at each of these one by one. The showers in Florida on land have pretty much died off, so it looks like no problems here through the nighttime hours. Off the coast of Texas, well, we do have some showers, and maybe one trying to sneak on shore here around Beaumont, or not Beaumont, but over toward Lake Charles, but not really getting into Try it again. Not really making a lot of progress on shore. That's what I'm trying to say. We head into the western United States, and here around Sacramento, maybe some showers working their way down I-80 towards you over the next hour or two. A little better look at it, and some showers also across northern Nevada. Stay tuned for Weather Center. That's coming up next.
Records continue to be set in the nation's midsection, and storms fire up in
the moment don't have any really significant developments, although in the Gulf of Mexico something could be organizing the next couple of days, and we'll describe that for you here in the next couple of minutes. Once again, mid-September, the peak of the hurricane season, and as you can see, the climatologically favored areas this time of the year, widespread region of the South Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf of Mexico. However, here's the big picture today, and today we do, after a couple of weeks of fairly active conditions, today shows very little significant tropical activity. That includes off the coast of Africa, where we have the continuation of those east to west moving tropical waves, but nothing really shows any signs of organization anytime soon. This is the mid-tropical Atlantic intertropical convergence zone right down here. Nothing all that impressive organizing, just clusters of thunderstorms, basically. The islands, right here, Martinique, Virgin Islands up here, Puerto Rico in this vicinity, Grenada down here, basically very quiet, although this weak disturbance moving west may result in some squally weather, that is scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and this evening, but that's about it. And this tropical wave in the western Caribbean has shown some flare-up and thunderstorm activity, but is undergoing northerly shear in the high levels of the atmosphere. So very little, if any, significant development expected with that. Now, in the Gulf of Mexico, some of our computer charts are indicating that over the next couple of days, low pressure will form. If that happens, sea surface temperatures are very warm in the range of mid to upper 80s, and there's high pressure in the upper levels, which may strengthen with time. So if we see a cluster of thunderstorms beginning to take shape and maintaining itself, then we'll have to get kind of concerned. But right now, air pressures are rather high, and none of these storms have developed into clusters of thunderstorms and been steady in their intensity. So it's a very, very disorganized type scenario, and it's just really our computer forecast models that are suggesting that on down the road a few days that something could organize. So we hope you'll stay with us as we watch the Gulf of Mexico region for you. It would be the western Gulf of Mexico, we think. And out in the Pacific, some developments off Puerto Vallarta out here off the Mexican coast. If anything develops there, let's say if it becomes a tropical storm, it would be Javier, and more than likely would take a similar track to Isis. Remember that storm a couple days ago that brought the moisture into Mexico and eventually the southwest U.S. So we'll watch that. And you saw briefly there the Western Pacific, Typhoon Rex history, in fact, headed towards the Aleutians with some stormy weather there as it becomes extra tropical. Back to our water vapor loop, dry weather Texas, dry weather in the mid-Atlantic, some moisture down near the Gulf states, and out west, a lot of tropical moisture in the atmosphere with more scattered to numerous thunderstorms in the cards today from Idaho southward to Arizona. Meantime, high pressure dominates the Great Lakes and Northeast, except for Maine and possibly the lower lakes. And a few isolated instances, this Sunday looks dry and pleasant with warm summer conditions but comfortable amounts of humidity. In fact, this morning it's beginning rather crisp in some areas. So we are beginning to see the wider range of temperatures between the early morning and the afternoon as we get towards the fall season. For instance, Elkins right now is 45 degrees and could be 85 this afternoon. Elmira is in the mid-40s and it's in the mid-50s in Caribou, while New York City, with a breeze overnight, is still at 73. So there's a wide variation of temperatures in the east, the northeast in particular. Down here in the south, well, it's pretty toasty in Dallas and Miami and Atlanta, 70s and low 80s. First signs of weak low pressure beginning to pop up in the Gulf of Mexico. Otherwise, high pressure, the main weather feature, with mainly high clouds streaming over Louisiana and Mississippi. You can see the fair weather Great Lakes, some high cloudiness here. Now, there is a cold front, and it will settle south, and it could provide a late day storm for Chicago, Milwaukee, and Detroit. Temperature readings in the west, 50s to 80s. Moisture is left over, and as the day unfolds, our forecast map shows a Scattered storms developing again, a few along the Gulf Coast and along this cold front too, but a lot of fair weather as well. And you can check that out on your local forecast next.
Every day is new. We tell you about the weather right now. How will it affect where you're headed? What about your plans? People count on us to get them through the day. I love that.
Witness the power of the tarot.
With over 22 years of tarot experience, I have witnessed amazing changes. As an expert in this ancient oracle that dates back thousands of years, I will tell you everything you should know. Call now and you will be dealt your very own special tarot cards. Be prepared for an extremely accurate and revealing reading. Tarot cards should not be underestimated. These powerful cards may make all the difference in your life. They have ancient spiritual powers to change lives, reveal fortunes, even generate wealth. As an expert in this ancient oracle, I may reveal money matters, romantic encounters, how to avoid costly mistakes, your future happiness, and how to achieve your dreams. I want the cards to work for you and answer your questions. But you must call now.
Caution, a tarot card reading may be very personal and intense. Be prepared for amazing revelations. Call this special free number now.
Call 1-800-538-2998.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel. You're tuned in just in time for Storm Watch. 10 minutes before the top of the hour, we'll give you an idea of where you might expect some severe weather today if that's going to occur. And we'll take a hard look at the tropics. You know, we're bearing down on the peak of the Atlantic Basin hurricane season. That occurs on September 10th, so we're just about 4 days away. Let's see how it all adds up with your tropical update. As we look into the Eastern Pacific, Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, and out into the Atlantic, a lot of clouds, a lot of disorganized convection, and there's reasons for each of those, of course. We'll examine each one of them for you. Out here to the west in the Pacific, near Manzanillo, Mexico, we have an area of disturbed weather that could become or could be named a tropical depression later today by the National Hurricane Center. And if it becomes a tropical depression and then goes on to become a tropical storm, it would be Javier. And where will Javier go? Well, stick with me just for a second. We'll get a little closer to it in a minute. Meanwhile, Gulf of Mexico, we have a wave, a tropical wave that is moving westward very slowly. It's the one that moved across Florida yesterday and brought some heavy rain to the Florida Peninsula. That is sitting over the western Gulf of Mexico and has potential for a slow development. We have high pressure over the Gulf of Mexico and very warm sea surface temperatures, water surface temperatures in the Gulf, and that is all part of the reasons that it's very climatologically favorable for tropical storm formation, although tropical storm formation is not imminent right now, so no worries, but monitor the situation, tune into the Weather Channel occasionally, and we'll keep you advised. Out here in the western Caribbean, a wave as well causing showers and thunderstorms, but nothing that portends any quick or near-term tropical storm formation. But we are close to the peak of the season, and if you just look over the last 111 years or so, 126 storms have formed anywhere from Africa westward toward the Gulf of Mexico. And that's for September 1st through the 10th, because the 10th is historically, if you add them all together, the most frequent numbers of storms have occurred, September 10th being the peak. And then it begins a downward trend. But we're in a La Nina pattern now, and that may mean that we'll have an extended season, maybe a more active late season. There is some thinking in that regard, so we're going to keep a close eye on the tropics for you. We've been through 5 storms now, Earl being the last, and Charlie and Bonnie being the strongest, a Category 3 hurricane, which puts it as a major hurricane. And if we compare that against an average Atlantic hurricane season, that means we're halfway to what's normally average, and we're not quite to the peak of the season yet. And we've had 3 hurricanes, so we're right at half there. And we've had 5 named storms, a little more than half. And those that were named, 60% of those have been hurricanes this year. So the first attention for this next week is going to be in the Gulf of Mexico because of this wave. Some computer models strengthening this wave into a tropical system. Some models taking it north with heavy rain along the coast, some taking it west where there will be little threat to the south coast, but there would be threats to the Texas coast. So just keep monitoring the Weather Channel. We'll keep you advised of the latest situation. This is an upper level low, and there's some strong easterly winds toward Florida. Means more rain and thunderstorms for you in the northern peninsula, but tropical storm formation unlikely. Western Caribbean's wave showing lots of showers and convection here, but again nothing organized, and encountering some northerly shears you can see on its east side. Out in the middle Atlantic, not a lot going on here either. Lesser Antilles getting some squally weather though with this system, but tropical storm formation not likely from it yet. And off the African coast, nothing impressive over the last 24 hours or so. This has been impressive to the west of Manzanillo, Mexico. Again, this could become a tropical depression later today. We'll monitor the situation, let you know if it becomes that. And if it does, and then further becomes Tropical Storm Javier, it could mean it would move north. And if it does, it may add more moisture to the west, meaning more showers and thunderstorms possible for folks in the west. Some of the moisture from ISIS has moved over this ridge and across a boundary that is draped across northern Illinois and Indiana. That's increasing the threat for thunderstorms, some of which could be severe later this afternoon.
Each time a disturbance comes off the coast of Africa, we follow that until it develops into a storm or to whatever it does. That way you're prepared, you're safe, out of harm's way.
There are some colors you can only find in the country, and these were the inspiration for the Country Colors collection from Ethan Allen, an affordable way to bring a fresh look to wherever you call home. Hurry in, the summer sale ends this evening.
As the summer season winds down, summer-like temperatures continue to sizzle across a big part of the country. Welcome to Weather Center. I'm Mike Bono.
And I'm Mike Motley. Only a few areas are seeing some wet and stormy conditions for Labor Day. And for today, 90s and 100-degree temperatures are a bigger concern as we close out the holiday weekend. Well, the heat is on in Dallas. Temperatures will creep towards 100 degrees today, and they're pretty close. So if you're going to be outside, take it easy. The heat advisory